It is the late 20th century. Hyper-industrialization has swept the planet. The old Bourbon Empire has crumbled, giving way to the United Atlantic States and the first elected megacorporation president in history, Starch Cola. As sea levels rise, cities have become polluted islands. Workers dream of escaping to the fields, an exclusive retirement district few will ever see. Rival corporations vie for power, policed by the privatized Starch Cola enforcers. Some say justice now only exists in the shadows. And that's the entire plot. As for my experience, Shadows of Doubt was a game I'd played during its early access period. I was hesitant since early access often means a lot of bugs and people complaining that it's unfinished, which is the point of an early access game. But I couldn't ignore the sales pitch, solving procedurally generated cases with multiple ways to find the culprit. Thankfully, this game was great from the get-go. Even out of early access, I played this game a total of 6 times, completing 3 of those playthroughs. Still, it can sometimes feel like an early access title. While there is no overarching story, a tutorial provides your character with some background lore. You are a police detective who recently got booted from the force, and now needs to take on odd jobs and private investigations to make ends meet. Your objective is the same as everyone else: build up a reputation to get to the fields. First though, let's talk presentation. The graphics are what I like to call noir Minecraft. However, it's not as flat as Minecraft. Shadows of Doubt's models have more pixels, which does mean more detail. Yet, that detail makes their faces look like geographical locations. Even your hand looks like a hilly region. Still, every character has distinctive and essential features. Their hair, eye color, and fingerprints can help narrow down a suspect. However, some categories lack clarity. You may want to find a woman with short hair, but the bobbed kind counts as long, alongside the traditional style. Plus, discerning someone's facial features from afar is impossible. You'll have to bring up their portrait to see what color their eyes really are. The environments are where the noir style comes in. No matter which level you pick or procedurally create, it's all dark and dirty. And when I say dark, I mean perpetual darkness, because hyper-industrialization has blocked out the sun. You can even add pollutants from your suitcase to the surrounding waters. You know what? That's fine. At this point, sea life may have adapted to eating plastic. Then there are the cities themselves. No matter which one you choose, they all have a few restaurants, businesses, tenements, a city hall, and shelters for the homeless. Notably, the enterprises and tenements can be located in the same building. They can't really build new properties because, you know. The constant graffiti and perpetual darkness give the impression that hope is not something that's held in high esteem, at least not in the cities. The fields are basically heaven, and you're working your way out of purgatory. There is a bit more to the background lore, but there aren't any books or much else beyond tidbits from the loading screen. There are hints of government corruption and experimentation, but it's not so much saying, take the government down. It's more like your current life is unpleasant, so find a way out of it. Being procedurally generated, all the locations use the same assets, and the interiors will be synonymous with each other. Like every name brand supermarket in existence. Still, you should start with Charlotte Heights. It's the first level the developers worked on in early access, and it is the most unique in terms of level design. New Lily Croft and the Casablanca Quarter are almost identical. They share the same shantytown, hotel, and even diner, with only minor aesthetic differences. Either the developer ran out of ideas, or assumed the players would just randomly generate cities. As for sound, ambiance and footsteps will be the most prominent. They are excellent and help immerse you in the game world.
Customers by nomination only. Contact your local LCHAM representative to find out more.
There is music, but it's mainly brief electric stings straight out of a sci-fi movie. Either that, or the alarm music that plays when somebody's trying to kill you. There is almost no voice acting, which is fine since all the dialogue consists of the same lines with slight variations. The most voice acting you'll hear is through Starch Cola ads or television.
Who brings a piece to a party, huh? This is a party, ain't it? Go climb your thumb. Yeah, you might be a big gal on your own streets, but down here, you ain't nothing but a piece of meat for the parasites.
Had a hard day? Put some fire back in your belly with some old wheel burger. Made with pure UAS corn. It's the drink to put you back in the saddle.
Next roller at first position. And it flies all the way past the action. They're shouting for it to slow down. No good. It's out of here.
It adds to the neo-noir and the capitalist dystopia vibes. Maybe you do want to drink a heavy amount of cola to forget about the apocalypse happening all around you. Maybe you want to just sit down and watch the ball game or the latest noir flick. But my characters are workaholics and only drink colas during lunch breaks. Anyways, on to what's essential, the investigations. Unlike my Holmes videos, I'm not hiding anything here. All the cases, even all the citizens, are random. No one's playthrough will be the same. Your central mysteries are the procedural ones, which come up on the radio even when you're doing something else. You then grab the necessary forms, examine the crime scene, and pursue a new lead based on the clues. Once you're done, you fill out everything, and the game will tell you if you're right or wrong. Solving cases builds your reputation and gives you benefits, such as access to areas restricted to wealthier tenants. There is also fast travel, but it's essentially auto-walking at a breakneck pace. But that's just the surface. It's how investigations are done that reveal what this game emphasizes you to focus on. You'll be examining cadavers for what killed them and at what time, if their fingerprints or anyone else's are present, even if the murder weapon is here or not. You can even hack into computers and check emails, which may have important clues to the culprit's identity. The cases are very open, and the clues you find can be pinned to a deduction board. They're automatically connected to each other, but you can make custom connections or even write down your own clues. You can then follow up on leads and narrow down suspects. It all looks intimidating or confusing at first, yet the more you play, the more you realize how systematic everything is. There are ways to solve cases quickly, to identify which leads will yield fast results. There is the possibility of getting nowhere and another murder happening, but I never got to that point. Once somebody was murdered, I did not stop. I didn't rest until my restless brain identified the culprit. Still, having one approach to investigating won't work. Depending on the case, you'll either have a lot or very little to work with. You may have 4 suspects that fit the description of a victim's email. There are even a couple of times where questioning people yielded a suspect's name. This means the most common identifiers are the culprit's identity, traits, fingerprints, and the weapon. Everything else, such as motive, doesn't matter. There are also multiple types of procedural cases, some of which can be straightforward or challenging depending on the evidence. Solving a kidnapping was the easiest of them all. I used one method every single time and it worked without fail. I tried a routine investigation a couple of times, but got nothing out of it. The most common is murder, either by knife or pistol. Usually, it was somebody who worked in the same place, a jealous neighbor, or a cult member. Then there's murder via sniper rifle. This is where your local underground gun dealer comes in. They'll always have a registry of any armaments they've sold. You can buy one yourself, but I'll explain that later. Then there are the side jobs, which you can find on boards at City Hall or in restaurants. Going from my favorite to the bane of my existence, infidelity cases are the best. You get the most information from them, and they are detectives' bread and butter in real life. Arrests, photography, and sabotage are only as enjoyable as the information you're given. At best, you'll know where to look. At worst, you'll be scouring all over the city looking for at least one hint of a fingerprint. Arrests are self-explanatory. Photography requires buying a camera and being prepared to run if your suspects value their privacy. I don't know why, since pretty much everyone risks their privacy online every day. Sabotage ranges from breaking windows, which doesn't get you caught for some reason, to placing trash bags in their kitchens as a prank. My least favorite job used to be fetching confidential envelopes since I couldn't, for the life of me, find any at all. At least in early access. Since then, they must have been patched as I found the right one most of the time. Now the title of bane of my existence goes to tailing missions. It's not for the entire job, but identifying who to tail. I'm scrambling to find out who has the briefcase, and the description isn't much help. I ended up restarting this mission from a save, and it's where I realized that the jobs themselves are procedurally generated from when you first dialed the number. You'd think the mission parameters would be set when it first spawns on the board. This means you could reload, pick up the phone again, and roll the dice to see if you get something easier or harder. As it stands, tailing missions are something you do once and never touch again. Name one person who finds this their favorite job. Go on. I'm waiting. While I wait, I'll talk about the other nuances of gameplay. Outside of investigations, the game plays like an immersive sim. The definition of the genre has been stretched out in too many ways, so I'll just say that you can do whatever you want to accomplish the goal. For example, you can sneak in by lockpicking both doors and cameras, sticking to the shadows, and keeping an eye on others even through walls. Or do that. Mostly though, you'll be bribing your way in unless the game glitches out after offering $400. All investigations earn you a lot of fun, so you'll have bribe money for days. Better that than vents. I hate vents in this game. They're just confusing to navigate through. You won't even need to, since breaking and entering is easy enough on its own. It's also a semi-survival game, since eating food gives you buffs to your speed and health regeneration. Starving yourself debuffs you, but you won't die. In fact, you can't. You'll be sent off to the hospital even if you were found refurbishing windows. That's not all though. Shadows of Doubt is also a Deus Ex-like game, as you can enhance your abilities with sync discs. They can expand your inventory, make you taller, lockpick faster, and my favorite, let you do a superhero landing. You can even use this to make grand escapes from apartments, further proving vents obsolete. The sync discs also have branching capabilities, but I quickly identified which ones were useful. Last, and certainly least, the AI. When left alone, they're pretty intelligent. They all have a schedule for working, eating, sleeping, tripping and falling. You can even take advantage of schedules to look through their apartments. You know, if you run into the glitch where the game says no to bribes. Yet, in all other ways, they're dumb. Getting caught means running away until they forget you even exist. This applies to breaking into an apartment and hiding until the NPC forgets an intruder just waltzed into their apartment. NPCs are armed and will try to kill you, but you're faster than they are, especially with buffs. Even those with guns don't shoot twice, so you'll escape and have a white filter on your screen for the next hour. There are alarms in the buildings, and they have a time penalty. If you enter another building, the whole city will chase you down. When it expires though, everyone's like, "Oh, you breaking into that building? Yeah, we're over it." Even everything you steal is just forgotten about as soon as you step out the door. Is this a commentary on the game's justice system? I honestly don't know. What's even more confusing is that you're not allowed into crime scenes, yet you can walk by the cops and investigate away so long as you don't make any noise. Gaining access to a crime scene through reputation is pointless. Thinking on it further, it feels like a poor man's nemesis system, or at least deviating from it to avoid copyright infringement. No one really remembers you, even those you arrest, and there are no dynamic behaviors between people. Mind you, I save scummed most of the time on my first playthrough. By my second, it almost felt pointless since I could just run away and suffer nothing. The only time I felt like saving was when a room had auto turrets that were sure to send me to the hospital, especially if I had illegal stuff that the police could confiscate. Still, I can't help but wonder what would happen if Warner Brothers were to release the Nemesis system patent right now. AI behavior would be a whole lot deeper, with suspects or people you burgled remembering you, even bringing down the reputation bar. It would incentivize caution and encourage you to consider your options. As it stands, the AI appears bewildered and weak, especially by today's standards. I pretty much forgot about individual characters as I did with Shadow of Mordor's captains, but at least the latter had personality. Shadows of Doubt's NPCs can be equated to pieces of paper that just eat, sleep, work, and murder. Oh, and melee combat. It exists, but it's boring, and you could just run away and stand on the bed. No one can climb beds in real life. In fact, the game seems to favor stealth or breaking and entering over melee. One last issue before moving on. I mentioned earlier that this game still feels like an early access title. Part of it is technical issues. I even held off doing the video review to see if certain things would get fixed. But no, they're still there after 6 playthroughs. A couple are actually helpful, like this one where the NPC pushes me through a wall and gives me a quick escape, especially since I could do a superhero landing at that point. Yet, there are mildly annoying bugs. The frame rate won't be steady, especially outside. Objects may fail to appear for a few seconds. These issues were primarily happening in New Lilycroft and Casablanca. Still, I am forgiving of this since A, the game-breaking bugs have been removed, and B, this was made by a small indie team. Asking them to have a fully functional game from the get-go is like asking a family-owned restaurant to have the efficiency of a fast food place. It's just not happening, but at least it will be an improvement over most mainstream products. Yet, it's the feeling that the game is still incomplete that is a head-scratcher. It took the team months after release to give us smokable cigars. And while I say NPCs can shoot you, you can't shoot them. Pistols in your hand are nothing but melee weapons. I have seen threads explain that giving the player power over life and death actually breaks the game, but then why let the player buy guns in the first place? Still, I can forgive this too, since the investigations, the heart of the game, are very fleshed out and offer a greater challenge. The other elements are simply an extension of your methodology, and in essence, your story. Like I said before, there is no real plot. It's just you trying to get into the fields by building up your reputation bar. Still, I want to discuss what I've noticed throughout my playthroughs, how my methodology was influenced by the game world itself. For a couple of playthroughs, I did my best to play Sherlock Holmes, solving crimes using deductive reasoning and thorough observations. I even tried to solve sniper murders by calculating trajectories. This works to an extent. Eventually, I found myself sneaking into offices and apartments, which isn't very far off for Holmes. He's more of a rogue archetype than most think. However, to obtain sync disks, I had to do some questionable things. I was also starting to bribe more for access than waiting to sneak in. Or do that. It was quicker and more efficient to ensure I had enough money to offer more bribes, and to make my apartment more livable. The game, and by extension, the world, rewards systematic thinking but also doing whatever it takes to get results. You could simply focus on specific types of side jobs and avoid pursuing sync discs if you prefer. Still, how they made you better at everything was hard to ignore. This style of play made more sense for my Harriet Dubois playthrough, which is what happens when you focus on intellect, physique, and motorics in Disco Elysium, while leaving Psyche in the dirt. It wasn't until the Philip Morrow playthrough where I was asking questions about the suspects and received surprisingly accurate information. Anything else you try to ask them is usually answered with a guess until you have pertinent information on the suspects. You are, to the end, a hard-boiled detective. There's little room to roleplay Sherlock or even Poirot. It does make sense given the noir aesthetic, and it lends itself to world building in a way. This is a world on the brink, and everyone is one step away from becoming a murderer. The most the police do is just put up some tape and hope nobody will remember. Only we, the detectives, are actively searching not just for justice, but to find our way to paradise. It echoes a sentiment from Marlowe himself. I needed a drink. I needed a lot of life insurance. I needed a vacation. I needed a home in the country. What I had was a coat, a hat, and a gun. Just as this game is kind of broken, so is the world, and what our character wants most is to be away from it. Still, even as a broken game, I played Shadows of Doubt 6 times and completed 3 of them by the time of this recording. It's one of my favorites just for the investigations alone, and I would happily play it more if I had the time. I probably will, since the game gets constant updates and features, such as a minigame, modifiers like permadeath, and now mod support through Steam Workshop. If you're looking to scratch that mystery genre itch, check this one out. I was going to end this game with me just smoking a cigar and looking out into the city, but I drank bourbon first, which messed with my movement and made me trip every time I wanted to fast travel home and sleep it off. So here's a little montage of that. Anyways, thanks for watching. We'll be heading back to Frogware's Holmes universe once again, and this next game marks the beginning of the modern Holmes era. If you're just discovering this channel for the first time, feel free to check out my Holmes Reviews playlist to catch up, as well as my other reviews and analyses if you're interested. Also, welcome aboard, and have a blessed day.